you will get time for even hurting an animal. This is a child. Regardless of what the degree, what the job title is, you do not treat a child like that.
South Carolina parents demanding answers at a school board meeting last night after watching video of that sheriff's deputy arresting a female high school student by throwing her to the ground. The incident raising questions about whether police officers even belong in schools. Our next guest works to improve interactions between young people and police. She knows the challenge as well. Lisa Thurau is the Executive Director of Strategies for Youth. Ms. Thurau, thanks so much for being here. Let's just start with that question. Do police officers belong in high schools?
Well, I think they can be very effective in high schools. I know many SROs who are effective, but there have to be some rules in place. And the U.S. Department of Education has made very clear to school districts, to law enforcement agencies, what those conditions are. And the first is very clear role definition. The second is repeated, rigorous, routine training. And the third is clear agreements between the schools and law enforcement agencies about the use of force and the use of arrest in public schools. And I would say in this situation...
Yeah, I just want to stop you for 1 second because you said SRO. That's School Resource Officer. Can you tell us, it's interesting to hear these guidelines laid out because it does seem like something broke down in this incident, but what are they supposed to be doing? If not interceding in moments of defiance, what are SROs supposed to be doing every day?
Well, that's the $64 question, which unfortunately we've left up to every school district to answer, and that's part of the problem we're having right now. It is clear that when you have school resource officers doing school discipline, for instance, a child not paying attention to a teacher and looking at a cell phone, which is a disciplinary school incident, and really not something that requires law enforcement. When you bring school resource officers into that kind of incident, you see escalation of terrifically minor incidents into these kind of brutal or sometimes arrest situations that lead to young people dropping out. So I would say if we're using school resource officers for that purpose, that's the wrong purpose. No, they don't belong in school.
The reason
perception...
let me just get to this cell phone video, because the reason that we all know about what happened there is that another student took video of the incident on his cell phone, and then he posted comments with it, and he has an unexpected perspective. So let me read to you what this other student said, and then have you remark on it. In the comments section, he posted, "This officer is a cool dude. He is not racist. Girl was asked to put the phone away, but told teacher no. An administrator was called and asked her to come to his office. She told him no. He then called the resource officer. When he got there, he asked her nicely to get up. Over and over, he did nothing wrong. They asked her to get up, but she wanted to show off. To some, it looks bad, but she wanted to prove that she was bad." What do you say to that?
Well, this is not unusual. This is typical teen defiant behavior, and there are easy ways to de-escalate this. And the first thing that anyone who works with teenagers know is don't turn this into a power struggle in front of peers where the teen is going to do all sorts of things to come out looking like they're on top. So it seems to me that...
What is the answer if not a power struggle? What should he have done?
There are many de-escalation techniques. There are ways of saying, look, let's not make this an issue. Let's do this between us. Please step outside. It seems to me the teacher, the administrator, and the school resource officer all need some training here. And it disturbs me to think that a teacher needs or an administrator needs to call for backup all the time, because then it affects the way teachers and school administrators use their authority. In fact, they seem to cede their authority to police when they can't figure out how to work with youth one-on-one. What happened here is not an isolated incident. I'm sure you can find principals and teachers across America saying identical thing happens with cell phones in their classrooms all the time. There are better ways, and I can think of 20 SROs who could have suggested to that officer a different way to do it.
And in fact, this very school asked your organization back in April to provide them with some recommendations because they thought that things were going wrong in their school between teachers and students. And you gave them recommendations. Is that right?
Actually, no. It was advocates in the community who were hearing concerning stories about use of force and arrests and suspensions in that school system. by sheriffs and other law enforcement agents, and they asked us to submit a proposal to the Richland County Sheriff's Department, which we did, proposing school resource officer training. And for one reason or another, we never heard back, but I wish I could say this is the only law enforcement agency which has not responded. We find that there's very little investment in training of law enforcement officers who are really put in a very difficult position between being there for the good of the youth and to enforce laws in a very murky legal position with even less guidance about what to do with kids who are defiant or who may have mental health or special education needs.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that one thing everyone can agree on is that there needs to be better training. Lisa Thurau, thanks so much for giving us your expertise this morning. Great to have you on New Day.
Thank you.